Hey, it's Martin. I'm in the studio today with 5 tips for making great pizza. Okay, tip number 1. This is a secret ingredient. It's used to make grape juice into wine or cow's milk into Parmesan cheese. It's also used to transform flour, water, salt, and yeast into something that's super delicious. What is it? It's thyme. Thyme is the first tip. Doughs which have extended fermentation are more flavorful. Let me give you some examples. Okay, so let me show you 3 recipes with some extended fermentation. First one is this crispy cheesy pan pizza. Lots of flavor, lots of texture too in this recipe. The other ones that I want to show you are the Artisan no-knead crust, also an extended process, just over a day. And the last one that I want to show you is the pizza cubano from Brian Ford. This is a sourdough version with a little bit of whole grain in it. It's also using our 00 flour. So there are 3 examples of doughs which have extended fermentation. Okay, tip number 2 relates to tip number 1. In addition to the flavor that develops during time, the handling ability of a dough also increases. So if a dough is fully relaxed, you'll be able to shape it more easily, you'll deform it less during shaping, and you'll have a much better rise in the oven. So let me show you an example. Okay, so let's look at 3 doughs. This is a dough that has had about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of rest after the divide and round. And this is a dough which has had an hour to rest. And then I've got one more which has had 24 hours. So let's shape those 3, or we'll try and shape these 3. This is the one that's barely relaxed. It's just had a few minutes. And maybe you've tried to shape a dough like this before. And you can see that the only way I'm going to be able to get this out to the size I want, so this is a 250 gram piece and I want it to be about 10 inches. The only way I'm going to get out there is by using a lot of pressure, or I could bring in a rolling pin. But you can see that as I try and manipulate the dough, it snaps back to its shape. So I can try and pick it up some, and I can try stretching this way, but it's going to require a heavy hand to get it out to size, and each time I stop, it snaps back. You can see it retracting. So this one needs more time. Okay, let's try another one. So this is a dough that's had about an hour, and flour it pretty well on both sides. And already you can see that this dough is almost ready to be shaped. I start in the center and I press to the edges, maintaining the edge crust, right? Maintaining that edge crust. If I feel it sticking a little bit, I can turn it and I can continue pressing. And for this style, and the sort of demo that I'm doing here is for a more of a Neapolitan style. So it really should be hand stretched. You get much better structure in the edge crust if it's hand stretched. If I use a pin, I push all of that nice structure out of it. So this one is almost there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it, stretch, and set it down. I'm lifting it, and you can see my thumbs are not grabbing by the edge, they're grabbing just inside of the edge. And I stretch. I stretch. I'm just working my way around until I get about the size that I want. Generally, a delicate dough like this is not thrown, so I'm not going to throw it. I'm just going to stretch it to size, maintaining that nice edge crust, and then I can proceed to topping. Okay, this is a dough that has had 24 hours to relax. Just tossing it in some flour because it's very soft and very sticky. And you can see how easily this responds to stretching. And you should note that this is really the process, that long rest is really the process that most great pizzerias around the world employ. They have this nice long cold rest period of the divided dough. So I've basically pressed, I've left the edge crust, and now if I need to, I can just stretch a little bit, and this should really require hardly anything. You can see how easily that stretches. So that long rest period will make the dough more flavorful and obviously much easier to stretch. Done. So I tasted the two doughs side by side, and there's just no comparison. Both are delicious. I mean, you put good cheese, good tomato sauce on, give it a good bake, it's gonna be good. But the amount of flavor with the 24 hours is something. So tip number 3 for making great pizza, this is simply know your recipe. With styles across the globe for pizza, from Chicago to Detroit to St. Louis to grandma's to deep dish, there are so many to choose from, and they're basically all made from a very similar set of ingredients. So know what you like. In my case, I love Roman style pizza. The thin, crackery crust baked very quickly in a wood-fired oven. I also like a Neapolitan pizza, which has a puffier edge crust and a nice dark bake. So when I'm looking at recipes or if I'm thinking, I want to make pizza, that is what I gravitate towards. So know what you like and match it with the recipe that fits. Okay, tip number 4 for making great pizza, tools matter. There are a couple of tools which are indispensable for making great pizza. One is the baking surface, so that can be a baking steel or a baking stone. And number 2 is a transfer or baker's peel. You need something to move the constructed pizza into the oven and so that it can bake on your steel or stone. So I really recommend having a baker's peel and a stone or steel to bake on. Okay, tip number 5 for making great pizza. This is bring your creativity. Pizza is really just garnished bread. It's an incredible opportunity for us as bakers and also cooks to play and to make something beautiful. So let me break that down into 3 areas. First, complementary or contrasting flavors. When you're thinking about toppings, think about opposites. If you add something sweet, be sure to add something sour. If you add something which is soft in texture, add something which is crunchy. So, contrasting or complementary flavors. Number 2, colors. Think about colors. So I made a pizza this month with smoked salmon, poached lemon slices, and then pickled onions. The color combination is a feast for the eyes before you even eat it. And the third area that I would encourage you to explore, and I think hardly anybody explores, is garnishing. After the pizza comes out, think of new, exciting, and maybe even bold ways that you can finish your pizza. Maybe it's an aioli. Maybe it's some greens that you've just tossed with a vinaigrette. Maybe it's a topping that no one would have expected. There are lots of ways to add creativity at every juncture with pizza, so get out there. Add the foods of your family. Even if it's something that's never been put on a pizza before, get creative and enjoy yourself and share that great pizza with those around you. I hope that these tips have been helpful. Have a great day.